Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to explore the logic function blocks available in the standard library. These blocks are used to perform logical and bitwise operations on Boolean values and binary data. They are fundamental tools in PLC programming because they allow us to combine conditions, process signals, and create decision-making logic inside our control programs. Let's begin with the in operator. The in block performs a logical and operation between its inputs. For the output to become true, all inputs connected to the block must also be true. If at least one input is false, the output will become false. For example, imagine we have two safety switches. Switch A equals true, switch B equals true. Since both conditions are true, the output of the in block will also be true. Now, if switch B changes to false, switch A equals true, switch B equals false. Because one of the inputs is false, the output becomes false. This means the in block requires all conditions to be satisfied before allowing an action. Next, we have a not function block. The not block performs an inversion operation. It simply reverses the input value. If the input is true, the output becomes false. If the input is false, the output becomes true. For example, input equals true. After applying the not function, output equals false, and input equals false. After applying the not function, output equals true. Now let's look at the OR operator. The OR block checks whether at least one input is true. If any input is true, the output becomes true. The output will only become false when all inputs are false. For example, input A equals true. Input B equals false. Because one input is true, the output will be true. However, input A equals false. Input B equals false. Since both inputs are false, the output becomes false. Finally, let's discuss the XOR operator. XOR stands for exclusive, or. Unlike the normal OR operation, XOR only returns true when the inputs are different. If the inputs have the same value, the output becomes false. The XOR block is commonly used for detecting differences between two signals, toggle operations, error detection parity, checking, comparing binary values. For example, XOR can be used to detect whether two sensors are giving different states.